Hello, my name is Thomas Holden. I'm one of the technical managers at Roadstone. I'm here today to talk about one of our products, Keltstone walling. It's a masonry product, and we'll just go through the product now and I'll show you the features.
Learning objectives. Today we will introduce Roadstone's Keltstone walling and many of its key features. We will look at the variety of shapes and sizes available and advice on bonds and coursing. We will also offer information on design considerations with particular attention to SR325, weep holes and cavities. Key advice on movement joints, mortar selection and durability will also be presented. And finally, we will discuss certification.
Okay, here we see Keltstone walling in limestone colour with granite surrounds around the windows. Very natural looking. Here we see the Keltstone used in a terrace, modern terrace, simulating the look of natural cut and dressed limestone. And here we have an outside room, again sandstone effect, lovely outside fireplace, suitable for sunny afternoons, lovely barbecue area. Here we have it used with a traditional wrought iron gate, forge made, looking very natural, fitting into its surroundings. The Keltstone works as a natural dress stone. Again, another gateway, close up of a pier here. The Keltstone is designed to be used around corners. It's textured on 5 sides, so it can easily be built around corners to produce nice, square, easy piers to build. Again, a shot from the front of that gateway, showing the natural cut stone effect of Keltstone. Again, a modern build here, nice detailing, a shop front there or apartment area, works quite well. All natural looking with Keltstone limestone effect. Variation in the colour, giving a very similar appearance of natural cut stone. Again, another pier cast here where the brick is used on the corners. So you're getting corners produced with brick as you would have done in Georgian houses. You're building up the corners and window surrounds, soldier courses, so the product works quite well with clay brick. Okay, so how is it made? This is a natural stone product, but it's a reconstituted stone product, and it's made to ISEN 771 Part 3, the concrete block standard. On the left hand side you see the mould layout. Cobra are our mould manufacturers, so you see the mould layout. On the right hand side you see a pallet of the block coming out of the machine. So it's simulated both sides there. You can see the mould drawing and then the block coming out of the mould. There's 15 different shapes on the pallet with 27 different pieces. So even though some of the shapes are the same size and shape, the texture on the top of the bricks are different. And there's 2 heights here being produced on the pallet. So loads of variation per pallet, as I say, 27 different pieces produced per pallet. There's all the different shapes and sizes. The width of the block is 90mm. 90mm is the minimum allowed in our Eurocode 6 and SR325. So it's 90mm wide. The heights are 78 and 168. Now these heights have moved away from your brick heights of, we'll say, 65 or your block height to 15. They're not the same. So we had to do a little bit of work on these heights, and I'll show you in the next slide what I mean with the height, why we had to work with the heights. The lengths are all different there. As I say, it goes from piece A to piece P. In some pieces there's 2, some pieces there's 1, some pieces there's 3 pieces per pack. But the lengths are different. That's given us our variation of 15 different shapes, and again, different print on the top, giving us 27 different pieces. Okay, here's our coursing heights. To comply with SR325 recommendations for wall ties, we had to bring the blocks back to match in with the centres for the wall ties. So the blocks had to be calculated so that with a 12mm mortar joint, they always came back to course at 450. So we get the wall ties in at the recommendation of 4 wall ties per metre squared. So if you look at the screen here, we have unit height 168 and 78 and a 12mm mortar joint. Now standard mortar joint is 10mm, so we want to use the 12mm mortar joint for this to work. So the first column, the table there, we have 168 plus 12mm plus 78 plus 12 plus 78, 12, 78, 12. That all adds up to 450. So using that combination of blocks, we come back to 450. If we use 2 of the 168s and 1 of the 78, again 168, 12 mil, 168, 12 mil, 78 and 12 mil, again she adds up to 450. And again, if we just use 5 of the 78s plus 4 12 mil joints, again she'll come back to 450. So whatever combination of the blocks you use on the wall, they'll always add back up to 450 when using a 12 mil mortar joint. It's very important to get your wall ties in, because your inside leaf of the wall is based on your 215 plus your 10 mil mortar joint. 2 of those adds up to 450. So the blocks are calculated to come back to coarse at 450 centres. And here we see the coursed, where we just ran the smaller size block, bigger block, 2 smaller size ones, and we're showing it comes back to coarse. That's using all of the 27 blocks in the layer. So the block comes back to coarse quite naturally. You could build it coursed, but I don't think that build really suits the block. A more suitable is the random brought to coarse, where we put in a random pattern into the blocks. But we're showing here it's coming back to coarse at 450. 450 is your old 18-inch course that you would see boundary walls around the old estate houses. Your domain wall are nearly always coursed at 450 centres. So very natural looking to simulate natural Irish dress stone. And here is probably the best pattern to use. We have our complete random course. You see K there is a jumper between the courses, and on the top the N1 piece again is a jumper between the courses. So when building random, we'd like to have no vertical lines greater than 2 blocks. So your perpendicular line is no more than 2 bricks, and you break the bond with that. And then along the horizontal, you really shouldn't be going any further than we'd say 600 with 900 at a max. You should be putting in a jumper between the courses as shown there with piece K and piece N. Again, that's using every piece in the line, showing that every piece will fit in, and you just keep building. These are only indicative patterns to show you the bond and how the bricks go together, but once the bricklayer or blocklayer or stonemason gets going with this, he'll easily build his own pattern because the bricks all go together. If you run into a problem and you need a smaller piece, we would refer to that stonemason referred to as a packer. So the packer is in here outlined in red. So the block layer, when building, came to a size and none of the blocks would fit in there, so he just cut it with a chase. This gives you an extra piece, and the piece that's left over could be used someplace else as a packer and gives you more pieces. There's no need to take back down the wall like a jigsaw. I can't get the piece to fit. Just easily dress a piece and use it. So that piece there looks quite natural, built in as you would with natural stone. Okay, if we return to our pier using the bricks as cornerstones, you'll see that there's a packer required underneath the brick. Again, it's not coarse the same as brick. Brick will return to coarse, we'll say at 215, the same as a normal block, but the Keltstone doesn't. So to get the cornerstones to work, we have to use a packer on the corners. Quite simply, this is just a piece cut with a consaw on site. Very simple, no mad panic. It'll work with cornerstones that are coursed at the 215 to 450 centres. And again, we're showing a pier here with the Keltstone used castellations on top of the pier and the wall. We're showing the sides of the block being used here quite effectively, where the castellation on the top, you're actually seeing 3 sides of the block. So they're shaped and coloured and textured just like the top face or the outer face of the blocks. Okay, like all masonry products, movement joints are required at 7 metre centres. This will be decided by panel shape, and if you refer to SR325 and the Euro code, you'll get the requirements for your movement joints. But movement joints are required in all masonry build regardless. Block, brick, natural stone, you're always going to have to use a movement joint. Keltstone is no different, but they can be built in quite neatly. You see here a split pier, movement joint, it's there, it's natural, it doesn't cause any hassle. Good site practice, again, it is a manufactured product that is made from naturally occurring aggregates, so you're going to have slight colour variation between production runs and between bales. There is a built-in colour variation to give it its natural look. Your shading between greys and light greys in this limestone, and your shading between yellows and lighter yellows in the sandstone. But there can be slight colour variation between production runs. It's inherent in the raw materials coming in. Natural stone has colour variation in it. So it's essential that you do blend from 3 bales when you're building, and if you have more than one load, that you retain 2 or 3 bales from the first load to blend naturally into the second load, and as you go on through the project, blend the bales and work from 3 open bales. Cavity. This is masonry, so severe wind and wind-driven rain is exposed masonry. Rain will penetrate through the mortar joints, so it's essential that you maintain a 40 mm airspace in your cavity. Full fill blown bead is not really recommended for masonry, brick or stone, but Keltstone is no different. Water will penetrate the cavity and should run down the outside lead of your cavity wall, so it's essential to maintain a minimum of 40 mm there. So you probably should be aiming at a target of 50 mm to maintain the 40 mm overall. Okay, DPCs and damp-proof membranes again should be used as per SR325. 150 mm above your splash zone at your footpath, around all openings, preformed cavity trays. Essential to form weep holes on top of these cavity trays to let the water out. Water will penetrate the mortar joint, so you have to get weep holes on top of your DPCs cavity trays to let that moisture back out. Proprietary weep holes available from any of your hardware shops or building suppliers. They're even colour matched now for red and grey to match your building material. Wall ties. Again, recommendations in SR325. We've mentioned wall ties earlier. Recommendations are in SR325 for your spacing of wall ties: 4 per metre squared, around openings, up corners and up movement joints. So it's essential that you get an embedment, minimum 50 mm embedment on your joints. Again, frequency 4 per metre squared. You're going to use more around openings and up movement joints than that. Consideration should be given to flexible movement ties, possibly across your movement joint, and again vertically up the movement joint to retain the 2 walls together. The Keltstone will work as a cavity wall, collar jointed wall, or as outside cladding on a timber framed or frame building. But the wall ties should be used with an embedment of 50 mm. Again, masonry mortars. For general use, we'll say passive, a standard M4 mortar, your old designation 3, 1:6 or 1:16 lime mortar is suitable. For more moderate or severe exposures, we should probably use an M6 mortar. That would be your 1:4 or 1:2 mortar. If you are site batching, it's essential that you would use a good clean sand that complies with 13139 aggregates for mortar. Okay, good site practice with mortar. Again, your horizontal and perpendicular joints should be fully filled, no partly filled joints. Keep out the rain as best you can with full fill joints. The joint finish can be finished flush, tooled with a bucket handle, or bagged to give that rougher texture on the flush joint. Raked out joints are not recommended. Raked out joints will leave a little lip that the water will form on and be sitting there to be blown in across the joint. So raked out joints are not really recommended for any masonry finish. Mortar joint finishing. Consistent finishing of the joint is very important. If the block layer, brick layer, finishes it after an hour and rubs up his joints, if he rubs them up as he goes, you consistently do the same thing. If you don't consistently finish the joints, you're going to get a different texture and a different colour off your mortar joints. While the mortar joints only account for about 10% per metre squared of the wall built, if the colour is variation in the mortar joints, it'll have an effect on the overall colour of your elevation or wall. So it's very important that you consistently do the same thing, same mix every day. You don't go to a 1:4 because you want to have it more steady than a 1:6. You use the same proportions in your mix and you finish it the same every day, or you'll get variation in your mortar joints, and this will affect the overall look of the wall. Durability with Keltstone. The Keltstone has been tested to the clay brick standard because there isn't a concrete standard for durability. So we tested it to the more severe clay brick standard, which is 100 freeze-thaw cycles between -15 and +20. And it comes out with a rating of MX2, which is your severe exposure. So it has 100 freeze-thaw cycles and passed with flying colours. And here's the sketch for severe exposure. You see the bucket handle or the struck joint, but the raked out recessed mortar joint is not suitable. You see the little lip you're forming by raking back the mortar. Droplets of water will sit there and just be blown in across the mortar joint into your cavity. So we do everything possible to keep the water out. We won't keep it all out, but it's best with proper joints, mortar joints, to do our best to keep it out. As like all blocks, clay brick, concrete brick, good site practice is important for getting a good wall. Protect all finish work from frost, protect all fresh work from rain. You don't want the mortar joints washing out, staining the Keltstone as the water runs down. Protect vulnerable corners, a lot of machinery, a lot of manual handling on site. If someone bangs against a corner, fresh mortar, you're going to upset the plumbness of the wall. Protect open bales and stacked out bales. Pull a cover over them. There's no point in building saturated block into a wall. It will dry out. You'll force efflorescence out of your mortar joints with a lot of moisture in the wall. So protect the wall as good site practice recommends. Saturation and frost during winter. And again, summertime work, if you have drying wind and lots of sunshine on your mortar joints, it'll dry out the water, suck the water out of your mortar joints. You'll end up with a dry, powdery mortar. Again, protect from frost and protect from drying wind and lots of sunshine. Good site practice. Again, the Keltstone is manufactured under ISE N771 Part 3. The plant is certified by the NSAI to produce the block. There's a declaration of performance and the factory production control cert available to download on our site. I'm not going to go through that. It's there to be downloaded. It's a CE marked certified product. And health and safety, again, health and safety data sheet for concrete blocks and masonry. It's a concrete block, the masonry product, so the health and safety data sheet for those products, again, is suitable. Available to download from our website. Pack information. The full bale is about 1 metre by 0.9 of a metre in diameter and it's 0.78 high. Full bale weighs 1.93, nearly 2 tonnes is what we'd say. One bale will build 8.76 metres squared of walling and one layer builds just about 1 metre. Again, 15mm mortar joints all the way around with the pieces in the pack. The layer will build just a little over 1 metre. And the weight per metre squared of wall is 200 kgs. And now we have a video. We built the wall, so we had an actual block layer come in, use the block. We gave him a little bit of instruction on what he should do. We just let him at it. So he had some very positive feedback on it, and he's just going through how to build Keltstone, actually practical, ordinary guy building it in the yard.
When building a cavity wall with insulation, always maintain a minimum of 40mm clear airspace between the Keltstone and the insulation. It's essential to keep the cavity clean and also to ensure the wall ties are kept clean. Always build full bed mortar joints both horizontally and vertically. Keltstone should be built using 12mm mortar joints and courses back to 450mm. To ensure a consistent blend, mix masonry from at least 3 packs and mix packs from different deliveries when appropriate. The packs should be broken down vertically rather than horizontally. When choosing to build to a random bond, keep horizontal joints to a maximum of 900mm or shorter in narrower wall panels. Break the vertical course frequently to a maximum of 2 units high. Always protect masonry products from the rain, splashing by vehicles and mortar mixing. At the end of each working day and in periods of rainfall, also ensure that opened packs and stacks of masonry products around the site are protected to avoid saturation.
Okay, we have 2 case studies up on the website, so I'm just going to briefly go through them here as part of the presentation. You've seen a couple of shots of this earlier. Here we had a case where an old cottage was being retained as part of the planning permission, but when the roof was taken off and the walls were examined, it was found to be structurally unsound. but it was there as part of the planning. So the planner, architect got together and came up that they'd replace the existing cottage to the same dimensions as is with Keltstone. So here we have a shot of the side elevation, and here we have a shot of the retained cottage with the modern extension beside it. So you have a very natural looking old stone cottage with your extension of the new build on beside it. Works quite well, looks as if it was there for millennia. Little bit of corbelling out there on a chimney, works quite well, giving an extra feature on the cottage. So the second case study was from Centre Parks. We were invited to get involved in Centre Parks by the architect and by John Sisk & Sons. We went up and met the architect. He gave us his vision of having park chalets kind of blending into the park. We presented our limestone and our sandstone Keltstone for the project. Obviously, the natural colour of the timber cladding they were using, the sandstone blended in quite well, so the sandstone was selected. The project involved building 470 individual chalets with 30 apartments. That's a lot of Keltstone. It actually worked out at nearly 12,000 metres squared of Keltstone supplied to the project. That had to be supplied over an 18-month period to keep the project on time. We also provided about 750 metres of Keltstone slips, 30mm thick, that were required in an area of the timber frame working underneath a window. So all in all, it was a lovely product to blend in to the forest setting. You can see here, the corners worked well, blended in lovely with the timber. Forest setting, chalets worked well. Again, ideal product for the speed of build. I don't think you would have got this with real natural stone over an 18-month time scale to provide 12,000 metres. It just blended in, it worked so well on the Centre Parks project. Now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you found it interesting, and I hope you will consider using Keltstone in your next build or specifying it on a project to a customer. If you have any further questions or require further information, you can send them to me at tholden@roadstone.ie or submit a question through the website. Thank you very much.
During our presentation today, you have discovered how Keltstone can replicate a dressed stone wall using modern building techniques, the knowledge that is required to build Keltstone with confidence, an understanding of the bonds achievable, and finally, how to achieve a replica stone wall that complies with building regulations, design requirements, and materials compliance. The Roadstone website has been designed as a technical and practical tool. A specially designed CPD section is a resource for all of our technical presentations. Here you will find downloads and support materials discussed during our CPD presentations. Our full catalogue of webinars is also on offer. If you would like Roadstone to deliver a CPD in your office, you can also inquire here. A full suite of technical certificates are available for download and are searchable by type, location, range, and product. Our product selector tool will allow you to browse our full range of paving and walling products. You can view by product, colour, finish and layout, and also view the product in a real-world setting. If you are happy with your selection, you can also request a quote. Our nationwide quarry and retail locations can be viewed through our interactive map. For any further queries, please submit a request through our contact page.